Recently, I spoke about Japanese TTRPGs, how a particular time, place, and situation prompted the birth of a new way of doing things. And in that same video, I referenced a Russian TTRPG, Enchanted Country, and Spell of the Black Magician. With a bit of Soviet magic and the help of the entire Iron Curtain, I DUWANGed Russia's first two role-playing games. So let's start from the top. The year is 1990, and the tabletop collective known as Autumn published a box game called Enchanted Country, promising high adventure and escape to a mystical land. The Enchanted Country is the first Russian TTRPG produced in Russia, using a horrifying lineage of botched Polish translation of D&D, the subsequent botched Russian translation of D&D, and finally their own, which is a little weird. Autumn themselves had published other games, namely Soviet Monopoly and Soviet Space Risk. But this newfangled thing needed to exist, and at its core, it's a D18 system. No, I'm not misspeaking, D18. You're going to be rolling two 6-sided cubes, one of which will be labeled normally from 1 to 6, and the other will be 0, 0, 6, 6, 12, 12. Using the power of math, this is actually a perfect D18, but you're going to be rolling against a target number. Normally, this is probably going to be a monster's armor class, which is kind of a botched Thaco, which may be reduced to needing a spell to actually kill it. But who cares about that nerd shit? How do I make a character? You're going to be choosing one of 5 brave heroes: the warrior, the dwarf, the elf, the cron, and, well, angel summoner. Each one of these brave heroes will acquire game points to increase their level, often acquiring new spells as well as having their own abilities. The warrior has a +1 to hit, the elf begins with a few spells, the dwarf increases their own AC, the cron has their stats, and the magician activates Super Saiyan mode and actually increases all of their stats at once. But our simple stats here are strength, dexterity, wisdom, constitution, and bravery, rolled with a 4d6, keep only 3. Bravery, though, does nothing. But let's keep things simple. Oftentimes, you're going to be needing to make a luck roll, which is just rolling the die raw and praying to God. Screw luck, I have a sword, though, you might say. What happens when I hit an enemy? You're going to roll 1d6 and consult the attack stat of the weapon, dealing actually a 2 to 7 damage. Pretty good. However, spells have a certain number of times it can be cast, and often absolutely nothing else to work with. They don't even actually have spell recovery rules. However, wizards are able to cast things like Spell Against Acid and Gas at 3rd level to resist everything for free, or make a perfect copy of themselves with Phantom 1, 2, and 3. Or you can cast the Infinite Money spell, or maybe the Instant Kill Death spell, 1 of 7, repeatedly. But of course, our brave heroes will need to confront monsters like the Ogre, or the Ferocious Red Dragon, or of course a final ultimate test against our might, Frankenstein, here reimagined as Dagon. Enchanted Country is odd, weird even, something very off-kilter, but its successor has to be better, right? Using the same K18 system, Spell of the Black Magician got rid of cron, elves, dwarves, and replaced them with the Barbarian, the Thief, and Priest, which is to say, useless Bilbo Swaggins and Poochie. Oddly enough, instead of the original characteristics, all characters only have strength, dexterity, accuracy, and luck, representing their core being, often starting at 0 for all characters. Only the martial classes will actually increase their stats as they level, but priests and magicians will get mana to min-max their problems away. Outside of that, many things remain the exact same from their enchanted origins. Characters engage in battle, they'll need to beat an enemy's protection rating, rather than worrying about Russian Thaco. But weirdly enough, there is 2 phases to combat in Spell of the Black Magician: pelting an enemy with ranged or thrown weapons, then actual melee. With no strict movement rules, Mr. Wizard can't float away from his problems this time. Except he can also time stop now away from them. Because if spells were vague and dumb in the first game, Black Magician compensated in the other direction, allowing casters a host of powerful spells to blow away the opposition. Magicians able to quickly break the game with Hyper Death Lizard summons and going Super Saiyan, while the priest can easily support them, providing risk-free weapons for themselves. Even the strongest warrior artifact of Excalibur pales in comparison to a time stop Ultra Death Priest Magician combination. So enemies have to be tougher, right? No. They often have no saves or attributes even, meaning that when a wizard casts Little Dark Age and evaporates one of them, they're going to have to beat that on just a raw D18, no matter if they're the gold dragon or a fucking kobold. Luckily, warriors and barbarians can also ignore threats because none of them can actually hit 19 AC, which isn't impossible to get fairly easily. Oh boy, oh boy. While flawed, I find both of these games really fascinating to look into a culture of the 90s in Russia. The first games of 2D different eras. The Soviet game at the end of a era and the Russian Federation game, trying to capture a zeitgeist of that subculture. Hell, in The Black Magician, you could actually fight Nazgul and Kender just as much as trying to confront Sauron at the end of things. And given enough work, you can kind of add anything you feel like to the game. Though, under duress, I have been requested to create the USSRD to let the world enjoy enchanted spells of this Black Magician's country, but as always, the links are below. Feel free to download, look around, and maybe comment on any major issues you might see. My name is Notepad, and this was Enchanted Country and Spell of the Black Magician. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and many thanks to the DUWANG crew and the ministers of the Central Bureau for continuing to support my fully automated space communism. Godspeed, good luck, and do sviđanja.